Welcome to part 3 of my 3-part series on how to kickstart your 2023 in order to achieve success. Part 3 talks about annoying character traits and the bad habits that you may have that will stop you from achieving your goals, or that may have already stopped you from achieving your goals in the past. Hi guys, this is Stella Bella. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Hubient channel. This is Stella Bella. Welcome to part 3 of my 3-part series on how to kickstart your 2023 in order to achieve success. Part 1, we talked about how to have a clean slate, the things that you need to do to start fresh for 2023 so that you line yourselves up for success. Part 2 talks about the goal setting and how to do it effectively so that you're on your path to achieving those dreams. Part 3 talks about annoying character traits and the bad habits that you may have that will stop you from achieving your goals, or that may have already stopped you from achieving your goals in the past. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to go through a list of characters that you may have come across yourself, or you may be 1 or 2 or 3 of them. These characters and these character traits often stop us from achieving what we want in life. So let's see if you can relate to any of them. Number 1 is the talker. So this person has a really bad habit of always talking but never doing. So maybe yourself, or you've met someone who always likes to make promises about how they'll change, how they will do this, they'll do that, in order to achieve their goals, in order to achieve the promises that they've made to themselves or their friends, family members, or the people around them. But it's always just talk, no action. If you are that person, chances are you'll talk about all of the goals that you want to achieve very often, but in reality you haven't achieved many of them. When it comes to taking action, you just don't do it. If you are that person, and if you have this bad habit, you need to get rid of it. This is probably one of the worst habits you can have, because nothing actually gets done if you don't action it. And it's great that you talk about it because it means that you're driven. But if you don't actually do anything, you don't physically go and try to achieve those things, it'll never get done. And not only will you not achieve your dreams, but chances are the people around you will be pretty disappointed as well, because maybe they believe that you will do what you say you're going to do, or that you are going to achieve whatever it was that you promised them. Number 2, the perfectionist. If you are the type of person, like me, I'm guilty of it, who needs everything to be perfect, otherwise you'll just keep working on it without any end in sight, then you need to stop. I need to stop. Because if it's not perfect, it's still good enough. And the fact of the matter is, perfection doesn't exist. And perfection is very subjective. What's perfect to you may not be perfect to somebody else. And if you think about the amount of people that you deal with every day who are imperfect, which should be everybody because perfection doesn't exist, how many of those people disappoint you, or you actually have an issue with the work that they produce or the results that they give you? Chances are you accept them for their imperfections, right? Or that their imperfections doesn't even occur to you as being imperfect, because the only person that you want to be perfect is yourself. So instead of setting such unachievable standards and hindering your progress in achieving your goals, because you'll never release your finished product to the world until it's perfect, tone down those standards, get rid of the perfectionism, and release those results when they're good enough. Number 3, the scaredy cat. The scaredy cat stops us from achieving what we want to do because it tells us something bad's going to happen. They're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of what might happen if they try, what might happen if they don't try, what happens if they fail, what happens if they this, if they that. Again, ultimately the scaredy cat gets nothing done because they're too afraid to try. But if you don't try, you're not going to succeed. And yeah, there's a big chance, depending on what you're doing, there's a big chance that if you try, you might fail. But a lot of people fail, and they're okay. A lot of people fail and they just learn from the lessons. And in fact, they'll fail, learn from it, try again, and do it even better. Some of the most successful people in the world have failed, been bankrupt multiple times, and it's from those failures that they learn to become the successful person that they are today. The scaredy cat is going to stop you from making those mistakes. That's going to help you grow. That's going to help you achieve your dreams ultimately. So don't be that. Number 4, the victim. You might be one yourself or you might know of one, but they are everywhere. It's the person who's never at fault. The person who can't achieve his or her dreams because of someone else's issues, someone else's actions. It's never because of something that they did or didn't do, which is the more realistic possibility, but it's always somebody else's fault. And if you are that person, now's the time to be honest. Think about it. If you are always the person who says, it's not me, it's them, then it's time to stop and start taking responsibility for your own actions or your own inactions. Because ultimately, if you want to achieve your goals, nobody else can do it apart from you. And yeah, there might be forces at play in the world that happens to hinder your progress to you achieving your goals. But if you truly want your goals, nothing can actually stop you from achieving the goals. It might throw you off track a little bit and you might need to take a little detour in order to get there. But if you've gone for a long time blaming other people, blaming your circumstances, blaming someone else's actions as to the reason why you're not achieving anything, maybe have a look at the bigger picture and ask yourself what you are actually doing proactively, physically, actually doing to achieve that goal. Because if you're not even doing anything at all, then it doesn't really matter what other people do or don't do, because they're not really stopping or hindering any progress that never existed in the first place. Number 5, the grass is always greener. Now, a lot of people, especially younger people I find, experience this, and it's those who are particularly FOMO, aka fear of missing out. These are the people who may be on their way to achieving something. They have a path selected, a goal selected, and maybe a lot of momentum build up to achieving that goal. But right before they achieve it, or maybe they have just achieved it, straight away, they get FOMO and they start looking at what they haven't achieved yet. And instead of appreciating what they do have and what they have achieved, or the hard work that they've put into achieving those goals, or getting close to this particular goal, they'll then look over to the goal that wasn't even a consideration until a couple of days ago when they had a random conversation with a stranger. Then suddenly that becomes their main focus, and all of that work that they've done suddenly just drops. And they have to start afresh with this new goal. And that means all of the work gets placed into this goal. And right when they are about to achieve this goal, then another shiny new object comes up that they're afraid of missing out on. And they'll put all of their energy into that goal. Unfortunately, that means they never actually achieve anything, because they just put a lot of effort into multiple goals as they pop up, because they don't truly know what they're after. And in the end, they have done a lot of work, they've made a lot of effort. So you can't knock them for their hard work and persistence, but it's so short-lived that they never actually achieve anything. And it's so inconsistent. So really, it's a waste of time, because you're putting in a lot of time and effort on achieving goals, but not actually achieving them. If you are one of those people who are always struck by FOMO, learn to be grateful for what you have. Go back to part 2 of my series, and I speak about measuring your goals and making sure the goals that you're setting are for yourself. Once you actually set the right goals for yourself, stick with it. Trust yourself, trust the process, and trust that if you put in the hard work and focus on this thing, you will achieve and grow and flourish in this goal and in this field. If you keep jumping back and forth, every single time a shiny new object comes up, and in this day and age, every day there are a million things that come out just to distract us from what we should be focusing on. And if we allow that distraction and allow it to take over our lives, we end up wasting our time and we end up achieving nothing, even though we work super hard. Number 6, the Negative Nelly, or Debbie Downer, whatever you like to call it. But this is the person who wants to achieve things, but just can't. They're not good enough. The whole world's against them, or what's the point? It's not going to go well anyway. And it could be a confidence issue. Very likely it's a confidence issue. It could be a mix of a number of different traits that we've talked about today. For example, the scaredy cat and the victim, both could play a big part in the Negative Nelly. Because the Negative Nelly wants to achieve things, but only thinks about the bad things that could happen if they tried. I'm not a believer in being overly positive. I would say I'm very realistic. I can kind of relate to a negative Nelly, but I also know that being overly negative about a situation really doesn't help, and it hinders progress so much. Much like the scaredy cat, it really stops you from taking action because you're always thinking about the negative side of what will happen. I mean, everything has a positive and negative possibility. I mean, you walk out the door, there's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be a good day or a bad day, but you don't stay home all day every day because you're worried about the 50% of the bad that could happen, right? So if you're one of those people who just focuses on the negative and you're a glass half empty sort of person, try to switch your way of thinking. Try to break this habit for 2023. And you don't have to go the opposite way and be totally positive about everything, because that's not realistic either. And in fact, that could be a separate trait on its own. Someone who is a little bit too positive and delusional, that could also hinder progress. If you're one of those people who stress yourself out, get anxiety really badly because you're always thinking about the bad things that could happen, try to focus on the real things that could happen. One tactic that actually works really well for me is, instead of dwelling on the negativity for a long period of time, just think about the worst possible case scenario that could happen, realistically. Think of a solution for it if it was to happen, and think of how bad it could possibly be if it was to happen. Chances are, if you think of the worst possible outcome, the consequences of that isn't actually as bad as you thought they were. And if you already have a solution lined up for if it happens, you don't need to think about that. You just need to bring up the solution if the worst case scenario was to happen, which in most cases is very unlikely. Then you can just focus on getting the tasks done, getting your progress, because the worst case scenario you've already sorted, so you don't need to worry. Okay, that is it from me on this 3-part series. That is part 3 wrapped up, and all 3 parts are done. I hope this 3-part series has helped you somewhat get a head start on 2023 in the right way. I hope you're setting your goals correctly and you're well on your way to achieving them. Leave a comment down below as to how you've went so far, what your progress is like, or if you've been able to put any of the methods to use that I've said in the last couple of videos. And if you have any suggestions as well, always welcome. Pop it down in the comments, and please make sure to click like, subscribe and follow on all of our social media, Hubient Talents, Hubient Agency. We'd love to hear from you, and follow me on social media as well. I'm under stellabella.au, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. Let me know your thoughts, any issues that you have, and how you've went with putting some of these strategies in place. Thank you again. I hope you've had a wonderful new year so far, and good luck in achieving your goals for 2023. I'll catch you next time. Bye.
Do you need high-speed file transfer for large files? Whether you're trying to send a promotional video to a client or a home tape to a family member, transferring large files can be a headache without the right tools. Well, no need to worry, Deskin Remote Control's got you. The end-to-end feature of Deskin makes it easy to transfer files between devices, even in a remote session, without having to upload them to a cloud storage service. Deskin allows you to share files quickly and securely, regardless of the file size and as often as needed. Subscribe and get your exclusive access now here in Hubient Shop, and use code HUBDESK10 to get your 10% discount now.